Okay guys, I'm ready to get into it. I have my business girl suit jacket on today, so I mean business. And we're gonna be talking about how to renovate on the cheap, but also do things to a really high standard because I absolutely hate things like peel and stick tile, things that aren't properly done, things that are too DIY. Like certain things, do not do that yourself. You do need to hire professionals. So without further ado, we're gonna get right into it. I did already lose a button on my jacket, so I'm not sure if that's bad luck, but yeah, let's hope for the best. And if you have any questions, drop them below. I will do my best to answer them. And hopefully you can learn a thing or two and apply something to your own renovation. Okay. Just to let you know kind of my background and why you should trust me, I do hold an honors Bachelor of Interior Design degree. I have worked at an interior design firm, and I have a master's of architecture. So I've worked at a couple firms, I have some experience, and I feel like I know some of the behind the scenes tricks of the trade and how to source things on the cheap. So definitely gonna be dropping some of those tips in this video and later videos, so subscribe for that. And yeah, a list of everything that was done to the condo kitchen. There was some things that weren't done just due to the timeline. It was a really short timeline. It was 2 weeks to renovate everything. Not including the time that was planning ahead before the renovation. So yeah, the appliances stayed the same, but essentially everything else was changed. And I think it made a huge difference. Let me know your comments below and let's get right into it.
Okay, so here's the cost of the total renovation. So the major expense was definitely the countertop, with the second largest expense being the paint. I've linked everything below that I could still find. Okay, so in this clip, you can get a feel for how the kitchen looked before. It was a lot darker and less comfortable to be in, and the whole goal was to just freshen it up and make it feel more modern in my style.
Painting the cabinets, definitely splurge on the material. I will talk about this a bit more, but we went with a Benjamin Moore paint. It was not cheap, but it was amazing because originally I thought I was gonna have to have them all sprayed, and I looked into the cost of having them sprayed and it added $600 to $800 extra. I do have a lot of cabinets in this kitchen, as you can probably see from some of the B-roll. And additionally with that, I also thought maybe I would have to buy a spray gun if we did a DIY version of it. But we were actually able to roll on the paint, which made a huge difference cost-wise. It saved a lot of money. Way faster too. It was honestly an assembly line the way we had it going. One of us primed, one of us would, the primer would dry within an hour, the next person would do the actual painting, someone would be moving the cabinets because I had them, I'll insert a photo, but I had them stacked all around my apartment, on literally cans of anything I could find. If I had I think at one point we were using cans of tuna to stack them on. So literally just spread everywhere to dry. And the finish is so nice. Essentially I got the pearl finish. I wanted something matte, but go with the pearl because you're able to clean it a lot easier. And with cabinets, you're constantly wiping them. If you're spilling on them, you might be scrubbing them. I've never had any issues with the paint flaking or anything like that. And like I said, it has been over a year and a half. So that's pretty good with me. Again, with the handles too, no issues. I've never had anything with peeling, flaking, anything like that. I guess if you did, you can just unscrew it and fix it. But the sealer, the sealer on the handles made a world of a difference. 2 fat coats of the sealer and it's essentially coated on there. It's not going anywhere. Which, okay, another thing that saved me a lot of money was just the quantities I was buying. When I went to the Benjamin Moore store, not to shit on them, the lady was really helpful, but she kept suggesting that I get so much paint, and the paint was expensive. The cabinet paint and primer paint, I think it was $220 all in, and that was if I got the smaller size. So I didn't really want to get twice as much. She was saying I should buy 2 cans and it would be obviously almost double the price. So instead of doing that, I just started with the 1 can. The color I picked is a Benjamin Moore color. It is the color Silver Song. So they can recreate that color and make me more if I need to, but I wanted to start with a bit less. So this is the paint can I got. I don't know if you can tell. It's like literally over half full still. Because the paint is such good quality, you're barely like, when I say we could have done one coat, like I'm not lying, like we did do 2 coats just so they were absolutely perfect. But it covered with like the actual primer too. It covered in basically 1 coat. The second coat was just to like absolutely perfect it. I've never been so impressed with the paint. Like spend the money, it's honestly so worth it. I'll talk about it a bit later, but I didn't ball out on my wall paint. I got cheaper paint and it just like honestly probably works out to the same price because you spend so much time doing multiple coats and then you're also spending like you're using way more paint because the white covered in like 4 coats in some areas, whereas like this covered over something way darker. Obviously it's a different kind of paint, but it only took 1 coat. So I think that that's definitely something you want to be considering. It's just like some areas, like don't be cheap, spend the money, because things like cabinets, like you're gonna notice if it doesn't look good. And I think they look amazing. Like all my friends who like came over afterwards, they're all in like the same design field. They all thought I had them sprayed, which I feel like says a lot because I was very nervous about having them just like rolled on. Like I didn't want to be able to see strokes, but I also didn't want like that texture that you can get from the roller brushes. And I don't think we have any of that. Like it's so smooth looking. So very happy with that. I'm also gonna show you, I don't have it anymore, but I'll insert a picture and I'll link it below. It was this brush that she told me to get. It's this microfiber roller. Made the world of a difference. It was so cheap and it honestly made things so quick. These areas right here, like kind of like the grooves, I guess you would call it, those were all like done with a brush just to make sure that everything was covered, but everything else, this little microfiber roller, just like, it also, the paint self-levels, so obviously that helps, but the roller just spread it on so nicely. You didn't get any of that weird like texture or anything, so buy the roller, spend the $10, get the roller, like 100% worth it. I think the one that I have linked below also comes with a handle, and it is like a mini roller, so it just is so perfect for cabinets. Definitely recommend.
So we started by removing all of the handles and hardware from the cabinets, and then we took it outside and used a light grit sandpaper to rough it up a bit and sand everything down. That way when we went to actually use the spray paint, it would adhere properly. Okay, so this is the handles installed. This is what they look like. They've been installed for over a year and a bit. They're holding up amazing. That's with the black spray paint, 2 coats, and then we also sealed them with 2 coats of the sealant spray paint. Both are linked below if you want to check those out. As you can see, like there's just no chips or anything like that that's showing wear, and it also matches the sink faucet perfectly. Like the finish is just so nice and it looks so cohesive. Okay, so this is the new sink setup. So I have an undermount sink now, and I did decide to go with a granite sill sink. These are more expensive, but they're very durable. They'll last a really long time. The actual size of the sink too increased, as you can see where it lines up with the cabinet. It is a little bit bigger. And then I did also upgrade the faucet so that it pulls down and then it has the sink sprayer option. I went with the Pfitzer brand, but I have found a cheaper alternative. I would just say constantly look to see when things go on sale. Like check your Home Depot, look online, use codes and look at things like Honey and stuff to see if you can get a deal. Because with plumbing, you really don't want to cheap out. You want to be getting things that are gonna last, and for any future buyers or renters, you want to make sure that there's not going to be problems with leaking. Little tip on how to save on stone. So in my undergrad, I worked at a quartz and marble company for like a year and a half. And one thing I did learn is that there is an area in some places, like check the quartz company before you go, but a lot of places have remnant yards. So essentially what a remnant yard is any offcuts or maybe things that they can't sell because they no longer can get that style anymore. Or if it's just like a chunk that someone bought like a little piece out of and they're not gonna be able to do like a whole kitchen in anymore. All of that stuff would go to the remnant yard, and it's
drastically marked down. So when I did a lot of the planning for this kitchen, it was during like the second wave of COVID. So a lot of people were trying to have sales and stuff to get people spending because businesses were hurting essentially. And that's how I found such a great deal in the Quartz. Like, I literally thought it was a scam because it was so cheap for my entire kitchen, for a grade 3 level Quartz. So if you know anything about Quartz, or if you've ever had to go buy Quartz, it's done in like a grading system. So the price per square foot goes up depending on if it's like a higher level. So this was like the 3rd highest level. So it should have been like $3,000 essentially. And for my entire kitchen, it was $800 or $830, I think. So that's pretty crazy. That's a really good deal. That's with them coming out to template. So they did all the measurements, them obviously cutting all of the Quartz, and then them doing the install. And that's them also installing my sink. Obviously I bought the sink separate, but they installed it for me. So yeah, crazy deal. Make sure you ask about remnant yards and also check the remnant yards. I was really surprised they had something that was like in this white color because it is fairly trendy, and sometimes remnant yards aren't. Like, I was deciding between the white and a matte black honed finish, so it was kind of like a rough texture, which also would have been cool, but I wanted to really like brighten up the space, so I think the white was a good choice. Okay, the light fixture. This is probably the part I was most excited about. And I also think it gave us the most difficulty. So as you can see, I went with something that's a little bit more interesting. I thought about painting the old light to match with the black fixtures, but I did order this one. I will have it linked below. The bulbs I selected are a different style than the one shown linked below. So just consider that when you're looking at it, because you can really change up the look depending on the shape of bulb you go for. I would like to say though, if you are ordering light fixtures online, it is important to note where it's coming from, because the actual housing for this light was to a Chinese standard as opposed to a Canadian standard. So trying to install it was a BITCH. It was really hard to actually fit the housing in there. And we did have to make some cuts to the actual metal. So just consider that if you want a quick install, you're gonna wanna make sure it's coming from, or it's either rated to Canada or it's coming from a place where it's common to install.
I go over the backsplash option quickly just because it won't apply to everyone, but essentially I do have a porous brick-like tile that was installed previously, so I used that to do a whitewash on it so that it's acting as a stain rather than a paint, and I used the primer for that, and then I did a clear sealant on top of it. And I'm constantly scrubbing the backsplash and wiping grease and stuff off of it, and there hasn't been any issues with the paint coming off because, like I said, it's absorbed as a stain as opposed to being painted. So if you have a polished tile, this won't work for you, but if you do have a similar porous tile, this is a good option.
Okay, so here is a view of the table. So I did paint the legs the same color as the cabinets, and then the actual table is done in the green, and you can kind of see in certain angles that it does have that semi-gloss finish to it. But overall, like the wear, like there's no staining, there's nothing like that. Everything is held up really well. I do eat like on placemats, but yeah, I'm pretty impressed with it considering it's not actually for like tabletops. It was just like regular paint and then a furniture sealer. Okay, as you can see, I just showed the table. It is green, not the original plan. The original plan was to stain it, but it is like a condo that's just like contractor builder grade originally before I upgraded things. So when I went to strip the table, we had to pivot a little bit because the table did not really have any wood grain. It was just like a cheap piece of wood. So I decided last minute I was gonna paint it my favorite color, green. So I went and got, I can't open it, it's like sealed shut, but I went and got this paint sample from Home Depot. You can just like ask them for a paint sample. I think I linked it below. I wanna say it's like $6 for a paint sample. I still have paint left, so there is still additional paint. Like you don't need much paint realistically. And then I got it in a semi-gloss. So essentially any surface that you want to be wiping still, like a table that you're constantly eating at, you're obviously going to want to be able to wipe it. You do need a gloss finish. I wanted something that was flat, but it's going to take the paint up when you clean it. So I got a gloss, I just painted it and like obviously sanded it, which I basically already done because I tried stripping off the varnish and sanding it down, and I'll insert some photos, but it was looking hideous. So we pivoted and I'm happy with how it turned out. I think it looks nice. So green paint samples are your friend, definitely look into that. And then I just put a varnish clear coat on top to seal it again. You want to make sure that things are very durable, be taking the extra step to do things like seal things, etc. So yeah, so this is the wood finish I got. I will link it below. It's just for furniture essentially, also in a semi-gloss. And then I did 2 coats of this and I haven't had any issues with it. Just like obviously be mindful and use things like a hot plate or whatever if you have like, I don't know, like a pot or like a hot dish that you want to put on your table. But yeah, honestly, like a great moment. Some things work out for the best. Okay, thanks for tuning in, guys. Please stay tuned for future videos. I really did try to cover everything in this video, but it's just such a beast. Like there's so many things to go over and there was so many steps to the renovation process. I would love to make another video just talking about kind of how to plan out a renovation and some tips and tricks to save money and just to go about things like renovating in a condo when you have to be like cutting things on the balcony or sourcing how to like move things up, or just general like in a house too. Not tricky or not easy, just like knowing how to plan for things, knowing the order of operations, especially if you're doing things by yourself, like you're not having help from a professional to be able to kind of schedule everything for you, which does save you money, but it does add a lot of stress. So if I could make renovations and design and decor just like more accessible for people and more approachable, I would absolutely love to do that. So if you have any questions or future video ideas related to design and renovations, let me know. I will be uploading my bathroom renovation in a little bit as well. So yeah, stay tuned and thanks for watching, guys. Bye.